Hello everyone. Today is November 30, 2021. These are the important articles that one has to read in the Hindu newspaper for competitive exams. Let us start. The first article is Parliament clears formulas repeal bill without a debate. So this is in regards to the repeal of formulas. Learn about the process of repeal of a bill that will certainly help you in either prelims or in mains, if not in interview also. Moving on, Omicron poses very high global risk, WHO. Why are they saying that this new variant of SARS-CoV-2, which has been identified or detected first time in South Africa, is a variant of concern? What does that mean? From that perspective, read this article. Moving on to the next, crypto trade not tracked, says government. This is a very important topic that you have to learn about cryptocurrency and the stance of Indian government in regards to the same. Learn as much as you can about cryptocurrency and the underlying technologies that will certainly help you in answering this question in prelims, mains, and interview. Because this not only talks about economy of the country or an economic idea, it is also about the technology aspect of it. That is why this is a confluence of two topics or two subjects, that is the economy and the science and the technology. That is why this bit of information becomes an important point of information from exam perspective. Coming to page number 7, that is states Karnataka not sharing Krishna details. So this is the water dispute between three states, that is Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, and Karnataka. So learn the history of water dispute or water tribunals in our country, because at every point of time, almost all the states in our countries share some sort of an issue in regards to distribution of water or sharing of water. And recently there has been some noise in this regard of the existence of water tribunals in various disputes. From that perspective, read this article. In that same page, a rupee one bounty on giant African snails. So learn what African snails are. Are they an invasive species? And if not, just do a little bit research on what are the native species of snails that can be found in India, and why invasive species like the African snail are an endangerment or a threat to native ecosystem. Environment perspective, very important, talks about invasive species. Might not ask like in the regards of snails or something like that, but knowing about existence of invasive species and the threat that they possess to an native ecosystem is important to understand. Moving on to page number 8, regulation not ban. This is again related to cryptocurrencies. This article makes a case for why we need regulation rather than complete ban on cryptocurrencies. From that perspective, read this article. A launch window for India as a space startup hub. So this is in regards to how India can leverage its uniquely placed position as an um, spacefaring country to to inculcate development in the form of using startups, space startups to be specific. From that perspective, read this article. Now moving on to op-ed page number 9, boosting green hydrogen. Learn the green hydrogen policy or hydrogen policy of the government of India, and also learn what are the technologies that hydrogen relies on to convert hydrogen into energy. That is something that we have to discuss, because recently companies, huge companies in our country have invested huge amounts of money in exploring hydrogen technology in our country. And recently there was a statement from the government itself, or at least Ministry of the Government of India, that India is going to be the global capital for hydrogen energy technologies. From that perspective, this kind of becomes important and significant, so don't skip on it. Possible question. Now moving on to page number 10. Again, you read the we don't track crypto trading, says government. Those things you have to complete in this page. Coming to page number 11, fewer terror attacks in Kashmir. This talks about the current scenario in Jammu and Kashmir. You don't need to worry for this for the exams. All you have to do is just be aware of what they are talking about in this article, because it talks about the loss of security forces in the fighting that takes place in Jammu and Kashmir between our security forces and foreign terrorists that are being induced from Pakistani side. Now moving on to page number 12, Omicron risks spark call for booster dose. So this is something that you have to be very careful and nuanced about. This kind of information is largely driven on database. Since there is a lot of confusion, since there is a lot of whatever you call it, difference of opinion in regards for the need for a booster dose or not needing a booster dose in this regard, we are not going to go into the weeds of the discussion, but just being aware why they are calling that a booster dose is needed to counter this new variant. From that perspective, read this article. Per capita out of pocket health expenditure sees decline report. Uh, the idea behind Ayushman Bharat was that the government of India wanted to reduce the out of pocket health expenditure in an individual household. So, why it is important? Despite many efforts, why India still has a high percentage of out of pocket health expenditure when compared to other countries, despite having free healthcare services being rendered to its citizenry. From that perspective, read this article. This is a nuanced article in the sense that this is a nuanced topic. Now, moving on, adverse events less than 0.01%. This is to government. So, this talks about the adverse events or bad reactions that arised out of vaccination drive. World's largest vaccination drive after the Chinese. So, what are adverse events? From the science of it, you have to read a bit about adverse reactions. What are the fallout of adverse reactions? From that perspective, don't get into as to which were the adverse reactions. Just be aware of what are adverse reactions. Definition is enough. Now moving on, India offers support to Africa to fight variant. This is again international relations. India is offering its resources and its know-how to Africa in order to fight the new variant of SARS-CoV-2. Okay. Now moving on to page number 13. Omicron very world slams doors shut. So this is in regards to travel ban that is being imposed on South Africa. Despite so we are not going to go into the reasoning behind it. Just read this as an informative article. Now moving on, an important development in regards to social media. Indian origin Prag Agarwal to replace Dorsey as Twitter CEO. So this is a new step in regards at this point of time. All the top companies, digital media companies, social media companies, and equity companies in the world are being run by Indian origin people. So you have Sundar Pichai as the Google CEO. You have Satya Nadella as Microsoft. Now, in that line or in that regard, Twitter is going to have an Indian origin CEO. We don't know how this thing is going to play for freedom of speech in India or abroad, but nonetheless, from an Indian perspective, this is a welcome sign. Now, moving on, Iran determined to salvage nuclear deals as talks resume. Just to be aware of what nuclear deal is, the P5 and the conditions laid out in that agreement. Don't worry about the current scenario, just be aware what the current scenario is. Moving on, Taliban asks EU for help with airports in Afghanistan. So this is, I found this to be funny, that is why I included. Apart from it, exam perspective, no way important. Now moving on, page number 14, net direct tax revenues rose 68% till November 23. MOS. What is net direct tax? What are the parameters that they are saying that led to the increase in the net direct tax revenue? From that perspective, important. Moving on, NGO seeks case against Musk's Starlink. So the reason that I included this article is learn what Starlink is and why they are saying that this particular technology that SpaceX is promoting by Elon Musk is a worrying technology. From that perspective, read this article. So in this regard, two articles are very important. This talks about the recent suggestion by our Attorney General K.K. Venugopal's that there needs a restructure of the judiciary and the need for national courts of appeal. So these two articles are complementary to each other. From that perspective, they are very important. Don't skip this article because there is a greater deal that at some point of time in your exam journey, a question might be asked in this regard. These are the important articles that you have to read for competitive examinations. Hope this video has been useful to you. If it has been, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel, and please do share this video with your friends. Every bit of thing that you does will help the channel reach wider audience. Thank you. Namaste.